This is a book review of Messages in a Bottle, comic book stories by Bernie Krigstein. And this came out a few years ago. I'm just going to quickly look. And it's printed 2013 and it's from Fantagraphics comics. Now, there is also an earlier volume of these. There was some quite large, oversized volumes, and they're really worth checking out as well. The story overlap, I'm not exactly certain. There's a considerable number of stories in here, and it's a decent quality book. But I would suggest also checking out the Bernie Krigstein other volumes. There's a volume 1 and a volume 2. Volume 1 is more about him and all his various illustrations, what he'd done all over the way, his career. And volume 2 is more the comic books. So what's in this book? Well, it's a paperback one. The other one that I mentioned is hardback. And there's not too much about Bernie Krigstein himself. Now, it's got no introduction, and it's edited and produced by Greg Sadowski. And it's got quite a long list of, there's the stories there, if you can see the stories. So there's quite a lot, and there's approximately 270 odd pages. So there's Buck Saunders and his pals, the Cursed Diamond, and they're all from a different variety of magazines. At this point, unfortunately, the listing, I would have loved if the listing had included the date. Now, I assume this in maybe in chronological order, but also the date as well as the publisher and the comic itself. However, that is not here. It's got a little brief thing of all the various copyright issues side, but you've got the artwork. The artwork, the reproduction is brilliant. I mean, it's obviously from scans of comics, and they've probably been cleaned up to a degree, but it's not perfect. But I don't really worry about that sort of thing. I am quite happy with these sort of scans. I'm happy with the Marvel approach, where it's cleaned up to an inch of its life. So either way, fine to me, as long as it keeps the price reasonably down. Because that's the trouble with a lot of when they've really spent a lot of time cleaning it up. What you get, of course, is a massive price. And the stories, there's a lot of crime, there's westerns, there's the Nuggets Nugent. Can't be a story by Nuggets Nugent in Double Trouble. Again, like I say, I don't know what issue that's in. Liar. I mean, some of the inking is very odd. I mean, you can always see his style, Bernie Krigstein's style, just brilliant. Now the panels change over time, so you've got the more conventional panel structure here. Magician of Murder Creek, One Way Street, film noir ones. Now they would have been brilliant in black and white maybe than in colour. Another western, The World's Strangest Shuffle. And I always think it's just quite. Now I'm not overly enamoured by the quality of the binding. It does crack and creak a bit, this copy. So Now I Can Die Easy. There's another crime one. The Highwayman. And there's some just great stories. Now some are very, very unusually inked. You've got very flat colours. So I guess this one must have been probably, I assume, from the illustrated, the actual pages, the original art maybe, because it's very sharp. And you've got some, you can really see obviously the patterns, the half-tone patterns. Black Silver Heart. Anyway, you've got some really great stories. I mean, the stories are brilliant. They're normally all about 6 or 7 pages. They're just really well-told classic tales. But, you know, I love it. Last Bullet, the Red Squad was hunting for him, closing in. All he had left, keeping him off, was his last bullet. Well, that's a great premise for a story. I mean, it's been done before, I'm quite certain. And if it hasn't, it should have been. But it's just great. Great story. Yeah, you always have those stories where the people are attacking and they've only got like 5 bullets. How are we going to survive? Miraculously, they do. Especially if they've got John Wayne or someone there with them. You got some historical ones. I love the historical ones. They're set in Egypt, Rome, etc. Love those stories. Flying Machine. Now that one's one of the weird ones. Because obviously that's an EC comic one. And I have to say, with that story, it's sort of like goes against everything. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's good that someone creates Flying Machine. It's just unfortunately what people do with it. And that's always the thing with anything in life. Someone invents something amazing and there's some great things. There's always people that want to use it for some dubious thing. And of course, obviously, he didn't want that sort of thing. Obviously, it would change the world. What's one? Yeah. Pipe dream. I think it's just still, I love that, the key one with he drops the key in the shop. Well, at the end of the day, of course, he can't. It's good. I love the panels because you've got that fear, the crunched in. That was the thing that he really did really well. So you've got really, and obviously the millions of keys, they all, of course, look identical. And I know myself, when I got my set of keys, I end up spending, even with 6, I'm going, where's my key? So if I dropped thousands of keys on the floor, that will be it. I'll be there all night. Yeah. Master Race, of course, is the classic. And it's a brilliant story. I love it. Again, everyone would always say the panels. Now, I must admit, because there is, I often you look at it and it's a slightly confusing story, I think, because it doesn't have obviously much description. And there's actually points where I'm starting to think, now which one, who's telling the story kind of thing. This is the thing. I'm not really, you know, you could read it near enough. It's a hard one. I find it hard to underread. I don't know. That's just maybe me. Murder Dream. And Krigstein uses some lovely things here. You've got like a shot with 3, the same guy, of course, moving forward with the axe. And it's as if it's sort of like moving forward. Of course, a bit like Flash, where you'd have sort of moving along and you capture him in different poses. In the bag. And again, he uses those sort of thin, really crams in a lot. Of course, as with a lot of these books, an awful lot of text. So you've got virtually the whole panel, or obviously it's 2 panels where you'd have 1 panel. So you basically got half the panel is full of text. And in many cases, basically saying exactly what's in the panel itself. Garibaldi, and he obviously went for a very lot of these things. This one, the hypnotist one, got lots of very thin. So this story could have been spread over like 20, 25 pages in a standard comic book. We'd give him a lot more time to breathe, but he's crammed it in. So you got, we got here 6 panels across the top. How so? And he went like that a lot, it seems here. I mean, you go through this, and this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've actually got, well, you've literally got about 20 odd panels on a page. I mean, that's a lot of story. And obviously crunched in. And also he's got like across the top, a sort of like a overall banner of what was happening. Several weeks, like blah, blah, blah. And he does the same next page. So this is like literally a 3 or 4 page, 4 pages, 4-page comic book. And you've probably at least got a full-length comic book there just because of the panels, the timing. They hammered, they scraped, painted. And it's a good story, though. And he does have great, he really, what the way he displays the people. They've all got their unique characters. They wait below. Yeah. Dinosaur. And again, lots and lots of these. And then suddenly it's got, but here you've got the artwork really changes. The last look. I love that one. These stories are always great. You've got a character, I'm not going to say this is what happens, but you've got these characters and you think, wouldn't they starve? You know, you've got something happens, you've got characters, and often there's so many variations of these stories where you've got like the characters end up trapped in a prison, trapped in another universe, trapped in, I don't know, on top of a mountain, etc., or whatever, or behind and you think, well, he says, but the character, but they would die. You wouldn't survive. There's no water. You wouldn't live very long. Anyway, just me quibble. But I never seem to worry about in comic books. That's just me. Anyway, you've got the final page, and then you've got some original illustrations. You've got some lovely original art pages as well. Just beautiful, beautiful. The drawings. I just love this. Krigstein's brilliant artwork. Just pencil work is just amazing. And it does finally, like I say, this is very weirdly done, this book. It's got a bit about him, but it's also got the all where the comics are from. So you've got, like, you have to look back. Page 20, Conning the Confidence Man, that was in Justice Traps the Guilty. Then you've got page 29, The Mistake was in Wanted 21. Fortunately, it doesn't say who produced Wanted, but I guess you could always find that out. Liar was in Love Diary #2. Again, who brought that? I'm not certain who the publisher was for that. The Westerner, the magazine's The World's Strangest Shuffle, was in Real Clue Crime Stories, and that was 1950s. Oh, Hillman. Again, you've got some beautiful. Then, of course, you've got the EC works. There's a lot of mix of stuff. There's bits from EC, Marvel Tales as well. So there's sort of the Atlas. It's got really good section. And there's obviously a lot of background as well about reasons why certain work with Atlas. It's all in this book. And it's just a really classic, superb, I think, paperback. Definitely a plus for any collection. And was that cover, of course, there.